Hello again, valued viewer. I believe you are keeping well because I and my team, the entire crew, we are definitely keeping well. It's such a delight to be making a return on another episode of The Bookshelf, beaming live from the studios of Western Spring Television. My name is Damilola Raphael, honored to be your teaching and learning advocate. Now, I would like to start with something today, and it's a word, amenable, A-M-E-N-A-B-L-E, amenable, and it basically means being able to be agreeable, to be cooperative, to be teachable. That could be another word for it. Actually, I wanted to use teachable, but I thought there is just this defense people put up when they hear teachable. So amenable is actually a synonym, can be used in the place of teachable, right? Now, why did I come up with this? It's because of some of the people just come up with running tests on people and then seeing how they are going to be reacting or responding to those tests. So basically, it's just about that. I get to relate with people on a daily, of course. I don't live on the island of Patmos. I'm not John. I'm not John the Apostle. And you find out that okay, so persons are trying to say something, especially the authority in that place. I'm trying to get something. You're trying to get something. The person we have gone to meet is trying to communicate something to us. But because there is just no understanding, right? We are not willing to listen to that person because we believe that person is not hearing what I want to say, how I want to say it. And this person is just wondering, could you just keep quiet and listen to me? And then there is that friction that could lead to bigger conflicts. This is to remember the teaching and learning advocate here. So when we talk about teaching and learning, it's beyond the 2+2, the 4x4, and the ABCs, okay? And all the definitions we want to memorize. Let us also learn proper character. Let us learn etiquette. Let us learn basic human relations, okay? So the person may actually not be getting what you're saying, but just keep your cool, calm, listen to what that person has to say, and then you can now communicate your own thoughts. That way, as that person feels honored, and then you are able to communicate whatever it is that you have to communicate. There is a Yoruba adage about, I'm being very careful. I don't want to use that word. So you don't go, okay, so that's how I'm going to be treating them. No, just do right about the way you respond to some category of persons, not because that person is right, but okay, just so that this person can allow me to pass, so to speak. I'm not going to say much more than that. Let us also borrow that into our relationships with people. Let us be amenable. Let us be teachable. Remember what they say about learning, unlearning, and relearning? That's where that word applies. Let us be amenable, be malleable, be teachable, be able to conform, right? They say when you get to Rome, you behave like a Roman. And that's just about that. That does not mean you should now deny she be Damilola Raphael. She said it should be amenable. So if I get to somewhere and they are doing anyhow, I will do anyhow. Look at me, I face very well. If you do anyhow, because they are doing anyhow there, you will see anyhow. That's about that for the introduction for today. And remember the charge for this new season that we are found ourselves in. Let us keep pushing on it. Okay, you found my frame is different, right? I can't find my glasses. Somebody found it for me anyway, and I'll be going to pick it up some other time. Hopefully, the next time you see me on the bookshelf, I'll be having my glasses. It's due. That one is also due for change, but this is older than that. Prioritize. It's about the care for the eyes and taking the important things as important, doing the important things first. So it's about two things: our attitude, our disposition, and of course, our eyes. So today we are going to be talking about types of libraries. We have brought on about 2 librarians. We brought on the state librarian for Osun State, And then we have also brought on a librarian from one of the ivory towers here in the state. Okay, so we want to talk about types of libraries, all right? Of course, they talked about it as touching what relates to them. Remember, the state librarian is a public facility, and of course, the ivory tower is a research, okay? It could be a research or an academic library. There are other forms, and without really intending, I found out that I listed 10. But let's give us a background. When did you do that particular one? Each time I tell you, go to previous episodes, look out for the bookshelf on Western Spring Television NG. It feels like, that's a very big task. It is not so much. You would just have been able to catch up with us. Kudos to those who are able to recall, and then you can still go back. No function with residual knowledge. I gave some group of persons with me a test today. You just don't know when your own test will come. How would I be a teacher and I cannot test you? It's not done now. So first, let's talk about libraries. We'll talk about a bit about history of library, and of course, we'll move on to talk about the different types of library. There is a particular one I want to dwell on. You'll find it out in due course. So let's start. A library is a curated collection of information resources, including books, periodicals, manuscripts, and digital media, organized for reading, study, and research. Libraries provide free access to materials, computers, and community space, often requiring a library card for borrowing. Now, in the Librarian's Book of Lists, Chicago ALA, that's the American Library Association, 2010, not too long ago, George Eberhardt offers this definition. Please pay attention. A library is a collection of resources in a variety of formats that, 1, is organized by information professionals or other experts who, 2, provide convenient physical, digital, bibliographic, or intellectual access, and 3, offer targeted services and programs, with 4, the mission of educating, informing, or entertaining a variety of audiences, and 5, the goal of stimulating individual learning and advancing society as a whole. This is very, very apt, very detailed, and if you ask me, I'll say beautiful language. Now, the term library is based on the Latin word liber, for book or document, contained in Latin libraria, collection of books, and librarium, container for books. Other modern languages use derivations from ancient Greek bibliotheca, originally meaning book container, via Latin bibliotheca. Now, going back to that liber, there is actually a software, right? A LibreOffice. Okay, so let's go on now. From their historical beginnings as places to keep the business, legal, historical, historical and religious records of a civilization, libraries have emerged since the middle of the 20th century as a far-reaching body of information resources and services that do not even require a building. Rapid development in computers, telecommunications, and other technologies have made it possible to store and retrieve information in many different forms and from any place with a computer and a telephone connection. I believe we've talked about that before on the bookshelf as well. And you might want to argue about not needing a building, not needing a structure and all that, but let's just move on. The terms digital library and virtual library have begun to be used to refer to the vast collections of information to which people gain access over the internet, cable television, or some other type of remote electronic connection. In earliest times, there was no distinction between a record room, an archive, or a library. And in this sense, libraries can be said to have existed for almost as long as records have been kept. We talked about record keeping as well on the bookshelf. For instance, a temple in the Babylonian town of Nippur, dating from the first half of the 3rd millennium BC, was found to have a number of rooms filled with clay tablets, suggesting a well-stocked archive or library. Many collections of records were destroyed in the course of wars or were purposely purged when rulers were replaced or when governments fell. And they say, don't do history. In ancient China, for example, the Emperor Shi Huangdi, a member of the Qing dynasty and ruler of the first unified Chinese empire, He ordered that historical records other than those of the chain be destroyed. Why? So that history might be seen to begin with his dynasty. Repression of history was lifted, however, under the Han dynasty, which succeeded the Qin in 206 BC. Works of antiquity were recovered, the writing of literature as well as record keeping were encouraged, and classification schemes were developed. A library's collection can include books, periodicals, newspapers, manuscripts, films, maps, prints, documents, microfilm, CDs, cassettes, videotapes, DVDs, Blu-ray discs. If you didn't meet those ones, ebooks. We've talked about ebooks, but we had 2 episodes on ebooks, audiobooks, databases, table games, video games, and other formats. Libraries often provide quiet spaces for private studying, common areas to facilitate group study and collaboration. Now, in this part of the world, you may want to argue that because you're told not to, talk when you're in the library and all of that. But I think I've seen spaces like that around. And then public facilities for access to their electronic resources and the internet. Public and institutional collections and services may be intended for use by people who choose not to or cannot afford to purchase an extensive collection themselves. I've told us before that you may not be able to buy all of the books, but borrow some sense in getting from those who have the materials you don't have, and then do well to return so that you can always make recourse to them, and then you don't deprive another person the opportunity of getting it because you did not handle it well. Anyway, let's move on. So not being able to purchase an extensive collection oneself, who need material no individual can reasonably be expected to have, or those who require professional assistance with their research. A library may make use of the internet in a number of ways, from creating its own library website to making the content of its own catalog searchable online. Some specialized search engines, such as Google Scholar, offer a way to facilitate searching for academic resources, such as journal articles and research papers. The Online Computer Library Center allows anyone to search the world's largest repository of library records through its WorldCat online database. Now, that records may need to be broken, right? So I'm waiting for you to break it. Moving on, digitization of books, particularly those that are out of print, in projects such as Google Books, provides resources for library and other online users. Now, due to their holdings of valuable materials, some libraries are important partners for search engines such as Google in realizing the potential of such projects and have received reciprocal benefits in cases where they have negotiated effectively. Online information access is particularly attractive to younger library users. We're talking about this. Now, let's talk about the different types of library. And coming up here as number 1 is what we call library branch library, or community library. This is a local library that forms part of a larger library system using the same library classification for its catalogs, and it is interconnected with all the other branches of the system through an integrated library system. Okay, so it could just be in one facility, just one space, and then it could have networks, around. And then it could also be that, for instance, for some schools where they may not have all of the luxury to be able to build a library, they could go, okay, so we are going to use this classroom on block A, the next classroom on block B, maybe first floor, second floor on block C, and then those libraries are interconnected. So it could be a community within that school environment, and it could be the community of, for instance, we're saying somewhere like Oshogbo, Osun State, and then there is Okefia, there is Agunbelewo, there is Okebale, and then you're okay. You think I won't be able to mention, I won't be able to pronounce those names? I beg you. If I'm teaching you, what am I learning? No, we should very quickly, let me say this. Don't anglicize what is traditional to you. Don't trade your culture. Okay, so let's move away from community or library branch and talk about academic libraries. That's coming on second rung. Not because it is less important, but that's just the way I decided to arrange them. Academic libraries are generally located on college and university campuses and primarily serve the students and faculty of that and other academic institutions. Some academic libraries, especially those at public institutions, are accessible to members of the general public in whole or in part. Library services are sometimes extended to the general public at a fee. Some academic libraries create such services in order to enhance literacy levels in their communities. So we are not just training those who are paying fees or who are on scholarship to be our students. We are also educating our environment. And if you ask me, I'll say that's beautiful. Coming up third is children's library. Children's libraries are special collections of books intended for juvenile readers and usually kept in separate rooms of general public libraries. Some children's libraries have entire floors or wings dedicated to them in bigger libraries, while smaller ones may have a separate room or area for children. They are an educational agency seeking to acquaint the young with the world's literature and to cultivate a love for reading. Their work supplements that of the public schools. I believe the state librarian mentioned that they had that arm, and she said it's free. And in fact, they had caregivers for free. You didn't even have to bother, that you were going to have to sit with your child per se, but it's also advised that you also help out with the work because of shortage of staff. Moving on to number 4, we have the national or the state library, which serves as a national repository of information and has the right of legal deposit, which is a legal requirement that publishers in the country need to deposit a copy of each publication with the library. So when you publish a book, you take it to the library and then you give them a free copy that belongs to the library. The library doesn't buy. Unlike a public library, a national library rarely allows citizens to borrow books. Often, their collections include numerous rare, valuable, or significant works. There are wider definitions of a national library, putting less emphasis on the repository character. Well, sometimes you get to all these national state libraries and it's almost empty. So how did the books? Whoa! So let's now talk about public library. I decided to do this so that we can separate between the state national library and the public library. There could actually be a difference between them. A public library provides services to the general public. If the library is part of a countrywide library system, citizens with an active library card from around that county can use the library branches associated with the library system. A library can serve only their city, however, if they are not a member of the county public library system. Much of the materials located within the public library are available for borrowing. The library staff decides upon the number of items patrons are allowed to borrow, as well as the details of borrowing time allotted. Typically, libraries issue library cards to community members wishing to borrow books. Often, visitors to a city are able to obtain a public library card. Now, some persons argue about it's a public facility. Why should I have to pay? I pay my tax already. We don't have the evidence of your tax. Only book. Support us too now. Okay, so we'll move on to we should rather move on to number 6. All right, but I don't want to overwhelm you. Let's take this very, very, very quick breather. I'll be back on the other side of it. It's gonna be 6 to 10. Wait for what we have on number 10.
Dramatist, playwright, and icon.
Thank you for keeping pace with us. Right now, we're taking on the second leg, the final lap of the Bookshelf Live on Western Spring Television. you wanted to see that one about Duro Orike, Duro Shomo. I'm sorry, you get to go and read about it, and then, you know, follow up with the information with whatever will show you from here, right? That makes it more beautiful. Duro Ladipo, beautiful, beautiful soul ever lived. So we continue talking about types of libraries, and I am on number 6. We're talking reference libraries now. A reference library does not lend books and other items. Instead, they can only be read at the library itself. Some of you would have experienced that. Typically, such libraries are used for research purposes, for example, at a university. Some items at reference libraries may be historical and even unique. Many lending libraries contain a reference section which holds books such as dictionaries, which are common reference books and are therefore not lent out. Such reference sections may be referred to as reading rooms or study rooms, which may also include newspapers and periodicals. You already know that, right? Especially for those in the ivory towers. We'll move on over now to number 7, and we'll be touching on the research library. This is a collection of materials on one or more subjects. A research library supports scholarly or scientific research and will generally include primary as well as secondary sources. It will maintain permanent collections and attempt to provide access to all necessary materials. A research library is most often an academic or national library, but a large special library may have a research library within a special field, and a very few of the largest public libraries also serve as research libraries. A large university library may be considered a research library. Okay, so we've talked about reference, and we've also talked about research, so that we can also see the difference between those two and not confuse them. Now, in some countries, that's taking us to number 8 now, all right, and that is media library. In some countries, the difference is made between libraries that hold multimedia materials like videos such as movies and documentaries, and sound recordings such as music and audiobooks, and libraries that hold physical books. Okay, let's talk about the next one. That's number 9, and I should explain some on it. Digital libraries, that's number 9. Digital libraries are libraries that house digital resources such as text, photographs, and audio. These are curated by digital librarians. In the 21st century, there has been increasing use of the internet to gather and retrieve data. The shift to digital libraries has greatly impacted the way people use physical libraries. Between 2002 and 2004, the average American academic library saw that overall number of transactions decline approximately 2.2%. Okay, very quickly, I said I wanted to explain about the digital library, right, and then the media library. You will be amazed if you are a sports lover. For instance, you follow sports, you'll be hearing stuff like, okay, so you're following through maybe football, basketball, handball, volleyball, swimming, whatever it is that interests you, even for music. So we are hearing that people of this generation now want to do a lot of entertainment. If you don't have information on what has transpired before, you just may not be able to make a headway. Because what new thing do you want to build on when you don't even know what the foundation is? Okay, and then you're seeing or hearing coaches, hearing their managers, hearing their trainers, hearing the persons, the stars themselves, the athletes themselves, talking about, okay, how that they were able to watch. You're watching some sports show, right? And then you're having a screen like this, and then they are touching, expanding, telling you this is how this person moves and all of those things. They do have printed materials, but to really ingrain the information, they use this kind of libraries, media libraries, digital libraries. And I'm going to be moving on to the last one for today, which really was my intention. That's special libraries, number 10, special libraries. Oh, I so love this, and I'm sure that if you follow through, you would want to build on this information and just hit it off from there. Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. It may not be common for us in this part of the world, but you can start it, and we'll be glad to support you. And I mean, the sky is the beginning, right? Kegan was saying he was the first person to talk about tech, right, on TikTok, and other people started coming. Which one are you going to say? Okay, so special libraries. Many private businesses and public organizations, including hospitals, churches, museums, research laboratories, law firms, and many government departments and agencies maintain their own libraries for the use of their employees in doing specialized research related to their work. Depending on the particular institution, special libraries may or may not be accessible to the general public or elements thereof. In more specialized institutions such as law firms and research laboratories, librarians employed in special libraries are commonly specialists in the institution's field rather than generally trained librarians, and often are not required to have advanced degrees in a specifically library-related field due to the specialized content and clientele of the library. Special librarianship. It began in the 1800s when professionals combined library training with specialist knowledge. One early leader was John Shaw Billings. He managed the medical library at the U.S. Surgeon General's office. That work. He may not have been a doctor, but imagine his work helped shape a new kind of library role. A group of these librarians then formed the Special Libraries Association, SLA, in 1909. John Cotton Dana led this effort and became its first president. SLA gave a voice and network to professionals in law, business, science, and government. SLA later created a special day to honor these experts. That celebration began in 1991. The goal was to spotlight their skills and importance in finding and sharing facts. Factiva also helped launch it alongside SLA. So it wasn't always in 17 BC, 800 AD. It started just, if they can do it, you can do it as well. And that's just about, remember we talked about being amenable, right? So let us be amenable. Let us cooperate with this information, this new knowledge that we have gotten. And it's just going to be the beginning for us. Thank you very sincerely for following through with the broadcast today on the bookshelf. We talked about being amenable, but the main focus for the show is about the types of library. I listed out 10, and the last one we mentioned there is the special library. My name is Damilola Raphael, your teaching and learning host, reminding you to follow through with the mandate for this season, Prioritize. I'll see you next time. Your teaching and learning advocate, Damilola Raphael, saying goodbye and God bless.